Going to get this done quickly tonight. First item, well, the planning board meeting will come to order. We ready? Great, thank you. Our first item is a bond release 107 Campion Road.
So this is a special permit was issued in August of 14 to construct a single-family home. The engineer has turned in a certification letter and an as-built plan, and the deed restriction has been recorded for the property. This was actually on last meeting's agenda. Some of the plantings did not survive the summer. They have replaced them, and the independent monitor has confirmed that they've replaced them, and they appear fine. Conservation's released their funds on this lot, and so I recommend a bond release.
So a full release of the remaining bond?
Yep.
Okay. So somebody like to make a motion to that effect?
I move we release the bond on 107 Campion Road.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Similarly, 242 Dale Street received a watershed special permit in July of 15 to install a pool, deck, retaining wall, fencing, and remove 4 trees. All work has been completed. The engineer certification letter is in. The as-built plan is in. They've submitted their deed restriction. This one required not only limiting fertilizers, but other items related to the pool water discharge and pool chemicals. A hot tub was installed within the footprint of the deck. That wasn't on the original plan. It is on the as-built, and the engineer did certify that there was no encroachment into any wetland area. Conservation has this on their agenda for tomorrow night. The only issue with this is the hay bales are still in place. The conservation agent did a site visit today. The homeowner has confirmed he will remove those hay bales according to the restriction from conservation.
And you
Recommend a full release. It's a $1,000 watershed bond. I recommend a full release.
Somebody like to make a motion?
We release the $1,000 bond on 242 Dale Street.
Okay. Motion made to release the remaining bond.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next item is a waiver request, 660 Great Pond Road.
Here's the Rolling Ridge property.
Okay.
Here's a locus so everybody's familiar. The applicant would like to create 3 gravel parking spaces at the southernmost entrance. So on the locust, I drove those in red here, approximate distance and off the street. It's a entrance that people may not have noticed in the past, but it is a paved entrance off of Great Pond Road, right next to the Country Club Golf Course.
And these are the spots that we're doing actually for the town's benefit because we have a conservation easement on the
Yes.
property and the rights to walk the
Yes.
property, so this gives people a place to park.
Yes.
So that's only being done for the benefit of the town. It's
Yep,
not
it's
really
within the
being done.
conservation restriction. I just asked them to incorporate that within the watershed waiver that there really came to me on initially. So to get them all done at the same time, John, and both of these will require...
So what's the second one? So the first one's the parking, which
the
is
gravel.
really being done for the benefit of the town.
Yep, and the second one is, there is a paved area along the side of the Moses building, which is outlined in red here. They'd like to repave that area. It's already impervious, and stripe it with some parking, and then construct a walkway, my rough drawing here, from that parking area to the main entrance. The walkway would be approximately 462 square feet, of which 300 and something is within the non-discharge zone, I'm sorry. That is the only new impervious area being added, so is the walkway itself. The proposed work is within both the non-disturbance and non-discharge zones of the watershed, so there is a wetland just to the, you call it east of this anticipated repaving of this lot. And Dan Karovis from DK Engineering is here to present the plans.
The plan that was up there showed you, I was going to give you an overview of what the site looks like. Right here is just the last plan we have colored. What we're looking at doing, you can see that the hatch, by the way, my name's Dan Korovitz with DK Engineering, representing the applicant for Rolling Ridge. This area in here is paved, and what they want to do is overlay it and stripe it mainly for handicap so that they can identify the handicap spaces and not have any issue with people parking there as they do now. In addition to that, there's, right in this area, there's, they want to put a lift in that would get the people from the parking area down below up to the second story. Now, the problem with the site, Reverend Larry Peacock is here from Roland Ridge. The problem with the facility is that there are different levels throughout the buildings that are out there. So to get from the lower parking area with the handicap parking spaces up to one of the other buildings, you'd have to go through the main courtyard. And to do that, right now, there's no way to get up there if you're in a wheelchair or have mobility issues. So what we want to do is put a sidewalk, which is this red area right in here, that would allow them to access the main facility. Now, presently, there's a sidewalk that comes from the main parking area, but it's approximately 220 feet or 230 feet away, where this parking, the access from down below would be more like 60, 70 feet away. So it's a much shorter distance to get to the upper buildings. And what I was looking at earlier, I discussed it with Gene earlier, about the concern that may be that the runoff from the sidewalk is going directly into the wetland across the existing drive. What I was thinking is that on this plan, there's a blue line right here, is maybe building a 6 to 12-inch berm. I'll show it again. It's right there.
I'm sort of lost where.
Oh, I'm sorry. The sidewalk would run up along here.
Okay.
And what I was thinking is everything kind of funnels down to this area, right? All the drainage funnels down to there. What I was thinking is putting a small berm, which would delay the runoff, allow some of the sediment, if there is any, to settle out. There's very little impervious area draining to this. The main parking one above, it appears to run down the other side of the road. There's a swale and gully and that. So what I want to do is just kind of control the runoff in there so that if there's a berm put in and it's all at the same level, then what will happen is it will sheet flow over the berm and act as a level spreader. So it will slow down the runoff, it will detain a little bit of it, and allow it to spill over. Again, the sidewalk we have here, it's a 4-foot wide sidewalk that would just provide access to come up around into the main facility, the resurfacing and the parking and the striping and the lift that would be put in. Now, what they're looking at is renovating the existing building, the Moses building. At one time, they were considering tearing it down and rebuilding it. But now they've decided to keep it as it is and just fix up the interior. But they need the access to the different parts of the building. And that's pretty much it.
When you say resurface the parking lot, it's asphalt?
Yes. It's asphalt now. It's just crumbling up in a lot of places. So this would just be to fix it up. And the biggest thing is to put the striping down so that the handicap spaces are identified.
And that's an isolated wetland there that's outlined in green?
It's a wetland. I'm not sure if that's going to conservation tomorrow night. They're going to discuss it. I believe it's connected to the lake, but you know, it's not really sure whether or not that it's functioning. Right? Years ago, we believed that was constructed to handle the drainage, because in the far corner, right in here, there's a deep area and there's a catch basin at the bottom of it. There's a pipe that goes out in the direction of the lake, but I believe it's cracked, and I don't know that it's functioning that well because I was out there when we had a lot of rain after it stopped, and there was water trickling out of it as if it were coming from groundwater. I can't say for sure, but that's what it appeared to be to me. And it's an 8-inch clay pipe. So it's very old, and I wouldn't be at all surprised if it's crumbled.
Lynn, do you have any questions?
No, the berm was my concern, taking care of that sidewalk sheeting. And since I think you're gonna have to go to conservation, it's 23 feet, I don't think we have to go through a watershed special permit on
Yeah,
this, is my opinion.
Yeah, okay. Gene, do you have any comments?
So just a question. The lift that you're talking about is for wheelchairs? Is that what it is? Is it
It'll be an
outside
external
or?
lift, outside, yes.
Oh, okay.
Just go up half a floor from the ground floor to where the bedroom area is.
Okay.
I don't be concerned about protection when you re-asphalt over the existing lot there. And also around the burn area. You can do more than probably than a burn. Couldn't you have like a dry well?
Excuse me?
Couldn't you have like a dry well running the length of the burn?
You can, in the watershed protection overlay district, watershed protection district, you can't infiltrate. So, you know, we thought of putting in rain garden, we thought of putting in infiltration trenches, but none of it's really allowed. But what I was looking at when I just drew this out by hand late this afternoon. We have erosion control on this side. What I would do is extend it up to this point, to, you know, during construction, so that nothing gets into the wetland area. With this, we can go around that berm and keep the berm off it a little bit. If you look at the grades, everything's kind of sheet flowing in this direction. So, you know, the first thing I looked at is the swale, but the swale wouldn't really do anything because everything's going in that direction anyways. So I figured that would be the least invasive design that we could do. And I think it wouldn't take a lot of effort to do it. Matter of fact, one of the things I was thinking of is maybe putting stone on the berm so that the water can filter through the stone rather than having to sheet flow over. So in smaller flows, you still have the water trickling through underneath.
So if everybody is okay with this, I think what we would have is a motion to grant the waiver request for a watershed special permit and direct the planner to work with the applicant and other town boards to mitigate any impact of the work.
I'll make a motion to waive the watershed special permit for 660 Great Pond Road and have the interim town planner work with the applicant to resolve the remaining berm issue and work with the conservation departments.
Yep, sounds good.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Bigger Beaver's Day. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Gene, we're doing the continued public hearing for 1600 Osgood Street, Osgood permit for solar project. Can you give us an update on what has happened since we last met?
Yep, so there's been a lot of activity, I think some progress in terms of answering questions and submitting revised plans. The fire department submitted comments from the state fire marshal's office that they've reviewed the revised site plan and it appears to be compliant with regulations. Some of these documents you have in hard copy because some came either late yesterday or today, so I just want to make sure that people got to their email. A resident has submitted some comments that the board or applicant may want to address at tonight's meeting. A new item that hasn't been discussed in the past is the City of Lawrence Department of Airport submitted a letter stating that the applicant is required to file a request for airspace review with MassDOT Aeronautics Division. and that they may also need to file for an obstruction evaluation with the FAA. The applicant has responded to that letter. In a phone conversation today, Mr. Leary indicated that they have already submitted that filing last week to the MassDOT division, and they anticipate hearing comments back within a week to 2. The board received a revised landscape buffer plan. That plan, in essence, added approximately 42 or so white pine trees to the white pines, 8 to 10 feet tall, to both the south and the north parking areas abutting Osgood Street. There was a revised signage plan that added location arrows for tractor-trailer trucks to get to both the north side docks as well as the south side. A lighting exhibit plan, drainage exhibit, O&M plan, and a parking and array analysis. The array analysis indicates that there's been a shift of panels from the canopies to the rooftop, notably a 22% reduction in panels from the south side since mid-September plans. When I looked at you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears that that 22% was reflected on the plans reviewed at the last meeting, though. Nothing in addition to what was presented at the last meeting, but since mid-September, that reduction was made, and throughout the parking lot, they've been relocated to the roof. So approximately a 50% increase on the roof panels has been made since, again, mid-September.
Clarification.
Sure.
As you mentioned, that is correct, those revisions
Could
were...
you come up and speak from the mic, please?
Yep.
Preferably from there so the TV can see you.
Michael Rosen on behalf of the applicant. For clarification, as you asked a moment ago, those were plans that were revised between the selectmen's meeting and the planning meeting. So I just wanted to point out that they were after the selectmen's comments,
Okay.
but before the last planning.
Okay. So the peer reviews are received, you have them in hard copy. Those came at approximately 4:30 today. So again, you might want to go through those in detail. Several items the peer reviewers have indicated have satisfied their concerns, and there's others that are being deferred to the board for the board's input.
So what we have is, let me just get this clear, there's some new additional material that's been provided. We have gotten some answers back to some questions, but there's still some open issues and questions. So what I want to do is I want to keep this discussion tonight very focused and relatively brief. And I want to just address the issues, preferably that are open, and then the planning board will opine. So can you kind of tee up the issues one by one, and I want to take them in that order?
The open issue related to the filing with the MassDOT Aeronautics Division, we won't know the answer to that. The applicant has indicated they have made their filing. It's not for a permit, it's for a review. And they've made that, we won't have that conclusion for a week or two. The indication from the airport manager who submitted the information to me originally said it could take up to a month, but typically it's 2 weeks. So
the review's been submitted, but we don't have anything back about
Right.
yes, no, or whatever.
Right.
Okay.
As far as the peer reviews, you have them in hard copy. So what's outstanding is they've made some concession on landscape buffering, but they don't technically meet the bylaw for the interior parking lots. So he's acknowledged they've made a plan submittal, but he's deferring to the board as to whether you want to waive that in essence or hold them to that standard. And I think you really have to flip through those peer reviews because there's several of those.
Okay. So that's it. So can we walk through the peer review in order and have the applicant respond to the questions in order?
Could I ask a question before we get into the factual discussion this evening? Could I ask who can vote this evening? So only 4 voting members, and the alternate is not qualified. And if we deliberate tonight, legally, no, legally is probably not even the right way to say. I'm just going to leave it where it was. If we deliberate tonight, but continue the hearing, North Andover has adopted the policy where Mr. Boynton would be allowed to review
That's
and
correct.
certify that he has reviewed, and then could still vote on the basis that it's only one meeting.
That is correct.
Okay. And lastly, if we closed tonight and took a vote, I think one question that was open that I don't know that was ever answered was, this isn't a special permit, so it doesn't need a supermajority 4 out of 5. It would just need a simple majority. And I think the last time we asked that question, there really wasn't an answer. And so I'm curious if we went
I mean,
forward.
my opinion is I think you do need it. You don't agree with that, but that would be our interpretation.
I thought earlier on, town council was going to review that and get back to us and let us know. I think that was on one of the lists from one of the early meetings that they would decide.
I mean, I think our view is that it requires a supermajority. He's not here, so, and that's our view.
Okay, so before we go forward and open the meeting, I'd like the chance to confer with my clients.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's do minutes.
Yeah,
let's
do minutes.
Let's be
Let's do
productive.
minutes, seconds.
Second.
October 1st minutes, anybody have comments?
I thought they looked awesome.
Yeah, brilliant.
Better than awesome.
No I'll make a motion. No? I'll make a motion to approve the September 1st, 2015 meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. John's still reading the agenda.
Yeah.
I know.
Okay, I'm looking for other stuff. All the Pete's stuff is here. You know, the watershed. Any update on those two
No, we
items?
got more minutes.
Oh, we got more minutes.
September
Okay.
15,
Okay, I thought you did all
2015.
three.
Meeting minutes, line 126. There is a lake cleanup day scheduled on November 7th. That added a tentative, because I don't think he final.
no, it's scheduled.
Oh, did he finalize
It's
it?
going to be the update to the,
Okay, it wasn't finalized at that meeting, so.
it's
okay.
finalized, the brochure is out. If anyone would like to attend, the brochure is on the website, so there's a meeting place at,
Okay.
I believe right now it's the Stevie's Pond.
November 7th.
Saturday, November
And
7th.
sorry, are these people who have boats, or there's some way
It's gotta be
to
shoreline.
participate even shoreline?
There'll be
Okay.
shoreline as well as boat access.
I'll make a motion.
have a kayak.
I'll make a motion then to approve the September 15, 2015 meeting minutes as presented.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And October 1st, line 127, strike front to rear and replace with south side. And I'll make a motion to approve the October 1st, 2015 meeting minutes as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, so we're done the minutes. Then we're back to 1600 Osgood Street.
So we have two requests for you this evening. Request number one is to seek guidance from town council on the voting requirements. And request number two is to seek a continuation until November, I believe is it Tuesday the 3rd? Until Tuesday, November 3rd.
And with another week too.
With the 3rd/10th, yes.
Okay. I mean, I don't know what people think or not.
I don't know if we need town council's input, if we are confident in our position. I mean, I
Yeah,
guess we can discuss that, but
yeah, I mean, I'm confident in that, but they're asking two questions.
Oh, I'll
Yeah.
agree to
Okay,
the
but
cont-
fair
oh,
enough.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the first one is,
Are they independent of each other, the two items?
I don't know.
Okay.
I'd like to hear you talk about it.
You need to decide. then
I
you
mean, they
need to-
could be, but
I mean,
they don't have to be. They could be related or not.
I mean, I guess my question is this. What is the harm in asking town council? We did bring it up early on. We actually presented it when town council was here. And at that meeting when town council was here, the response was, we'll get guidance from town council. And so it's now 4 weeks later, or 4 hearings later. And I did ask at the last hearing and really didn't get an answer. And I mean, at the end of the day, either he's going to tell you you're right, or he's going to tell you, no, Attorney Rosen's right. But is there actually any harm in asking him the question?
Well, yeah, I mean, you did have two separate requests, so I'm just asking for feedback from the board. So, what are people's pleasure?
I have no opinion
I don't know.
You know,
on the continuance
We
at
can
this
ask.
point.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
But the cost.
they're related, but they're, you know, but they're not
I think they have to
necessarily.
be two separate.
So I think the reason that I'm asking is if we get back here again in 2 weeks and there's only 4 voting members, I don't want to come in 2 weeks and then have to wait another 2 weeks or another month to come back again. And if town council said, if I knew right now that I needed 3 out of 4 votes instead of 4 out of 4 votes, our opinion was we would go forward tonight. So if we get to the meeting next, in 2 weeks and, losing 1 vote is different than having to have a unanimous vote. And it does make a lot of difference, and we don't know how many people will be at the next meeting.
Right, no, I understand what you're thinking is.
Okay.
But there's also, another reason, we haven't gone through the substance of it, and we don't know what open issues are going to be left at the end of the night anyway, so, I mean,
Correct, and we could get to the end of the hearing, and Peter could, watch the meeting. But again, if Peter's absent on November 3rd, then we're back at the exact same. So let me do this. I asked both questions separate and independent. I think I was being somewhat facetious when I said I want to hear what you have to say. Those are my reasons for wanting to know so that we're not in this predicament again. And we're going to continue tonight anyway because we're not looking for a unanimous decision.
Okay.
Thank you.
yeah.
What did we just agree to?
Well, no, I don't think, I think we're discussing it, right? So we have to make a motion.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is that we would make a motion to accept the request for the time to render a decision to our next meeting with an additional week.
We'll continue the hearing with a
Continue the
decision
hearing
the
to
following
render a
week.
decision at our next meeting, and then
So moved.
to...
Wait, is the 10th Veterans Day?
No, the 11th.
Okay.
The 11th is, yeah.
So moved.
Why haven't we voted on that before we could talk through about all the details?
Because of Peter misses the whole meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're not going to walk through the details tonight if we vote on this?
Well, I mean, we could,
Sorry.
sometimes, in the past, what has happened is we don't hear anything that night, in other cases we
Got it.
do. So it's, I've seen it happen at both. I don't think there's any harm in, hearing some of this stuff, but we could say, okay, we're just not going to talk about anything, and then do it the next time, but I don't think there's any harm in hearing
Okay.
the stuff out, so. And we want that in writing, right? Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, we'll submit it in the morning.
yeah, so.
Well, what's our date currently on record, though?
November 27th to render a decision.
But
So
tonight,
tonight is
October 20th. so we
continued
need
to the
tonight,
20th.
Unfortunately.
Okay, yeah, we'll write one.
Okay, you can go right in it.
I don't,
Because we have that.
the last one the last one I do,
Yeah, I
I'm just
thought-
seeing if we have one on your form. Yeah.
I think
Dennis, you want?
Yeah, I think it's okay. I mean,
No, this is perfect.
Okay.
The thing is, if
And
they
I-
ask for it.
3rd and 10th.
I really don't have a
November
problem
3rd
asking
and time to render until the
you
10th.
know.
Okay.
So let's take it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
motion made is to accept a written request to extend the date to render a decision. We'll continue the public hearing and render the decision to November 3rd with the filing to be by December 10th. I mean, November 10th. Yeah,
So moved.
okay.
So I think we already, did already get seconded? Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Okay.
And do we need to make a motion on their request? think we can.
No, I don't think
motion.
we, I don't
Okay.
think we need to just do that.
Yep.
Yeah, so,
So are you going to take evidence or no?
No.
No, okay.
no.
Yeah, it's better to be.
I'll timestamp it in the morning, that's what I've been doing, even though it's a day late, I'll timestamp it. So
Given the circumstances, we aren't going to take any evidence tonight, but what I would suggest is that for any of the items that are open that require input back and forth, let's be very, the sooner we do it, the better everybody is going to be, so.
Yeah, the truth of the matter is, I think because some of the peer review things came in last minute, this actually will benefit you by giving everybody time to read everything before we
Fair
actually
enough.
sit in a
So,
row.
okay, great.
I'm sorry, so to that, John, would you anticipate responding to any of these, or are you just
We
going
did, right? Everything that's in, we probably won't submit anything further to John. No,
Okay.
I honestly, I think that, when you read the stuff that went back and forth, I think we answered their questions, they commented on our answers to their questions.
and kind of left it in the board's hands at that point?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, but I mean,
Okay.
check in back and forth, because if anything comes up,
I
mean,
think the
that's
biggest thing would be, on the FAA, we actually did get an independent opinion. We got that submitted as part of it. And if we heard back from the Lawrence Airport in the interim, that would probably be the one thing, I'm sorry. If we heard from the this Department of Transportation in the interim, we would get that posted. And they did say that just because of the fact that it's so significantly lower than the airport, they'd look to expedite it and get it taken care of. So if we have that, we'll get
Okay.
that submitted in the package.
I think there was one outstanding item still was elevations.
You had requested it, I had communicated to Deanne, so Lynn was looking for information on the grade change from the front to back and how that would impact the elevation of the canopy.
Didn't we answer that in the hearing?
No, they didn't
Yeah.
provide exact elevations.
So they provided profiles.
It's probably about 8 feet grade change, I think, from front to back, and I
Yeah,
think.
the elevation is on the plans from front to back. It's there.
Which-
And we took it out, and I thought,
Which sheet number?
I think it's on all of them at this point, because one of your peer review consultants commented you were missing elevations on 3 of the pages.
I think what
I
they're
think that-
asking for is different than,
I think that was the grade. Do you have the wood sheet
No,
number?
no, I don't want to open up to experts.
No, we can't take any evidence, yeah.
No, I don't want to, I only, if we submitted something already, what, I think your question was, what are we doing with the canopies? Are we changing the grade? And our answer was, no, they're staying to grade with the
But-
elevation.
Right, but then, but elevation drawings, like when any structure, even a sign, you do elevations, it's 20 feet on this pole, and then it's 30 feet on this pole at the end, or whatever it is, the elevations.
It's no, it's going to be the exact, based on the elevation of the ground. And we did answer that at the last meeting.
It can't be the same. If you have a 10-foot pole in the front and the grade drops 4 feet, that pole in the back has to be 14 feet. And then the next pole's 14 feet, and then the next pole's 18 feet.
in this case, it will go lower as it gets to the back.
grade, or is it going like this? And
Okay.
Well, I think elevations, so
Yeah.
if it's on a sheet, you can
Okay.
point it out. If it's not on a
No,
sheet.
so we answered last time, it's not going to be built like this while the land slopes down. It's going to be built like this. It's going to follow the grade of the land.
So it's not level.
Every pole is 11, correct, it follows the grade.
Okay, so it's, okay, you did say they were level.
But so it
last
goes
time.
lower, the
So it's not-
further you go
they're not
back the
level.
property,
Okay.
they'll go lower,
Okay, so they're not.
visually.
It's parallel to the grade.
Okay, correct. Then
Okay.
I think they said it was level.
I'm sorry, no, it's parallel to the
Okay.
grade, which
Okay.
is why we didn't submit anything
Okay.
else. Okay,
All right.
all right, thank
Thank
you.
you. Anything else, Gene? Those, we'll have like a Pete Memorial discussion and not memorial, that doesn't sound good.
Or just the revised?
Okay.
Did everybody see Peter in the newsletter
Eventually
that
I'll
comes
do
in the,
Okay, that's fine.
the tax bill that,
Oh, the harbor master?
Thank you.
yeah,
Is this,
I didn't see it.
Pete, did he have his hat on?
he was in there for cleaning up the lake and fishing out
Oh,
stuff
okay.
and everything like that.
Yeah, good for him.
We should try and go on
Or
November whatever
Okay,
and support him.
I didn't see that on the website.
thank you.
It's November 7th?
Saturday, November 7th.
They
Do you know
It
what
is on the
time?
website.
It's on the website.
I should know, I think it's 8 o'clock, but I would
think
double
it's
check,
gonna-
and I'll
if
get it
it's-
to everybody.
But if
I'll
it's
send you a
really
copy.
cold,
Okay,
I'm
that'd
not
be great.
going.
Well, what's really cold?
Oh, we need to close the meeting.
Well, I just wanted to know, is there anything else? that-
There isn't. I have not done anything on the watershed brochure or anything to
Okay.
that effect.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
okay.
good. Great, well, motion to adjourn is in order then.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.